Let's take a look at the signal of this kick drum. You can see from its channel over here that I've got it panned right down the middle. And if we look at this stereo spectrum analyzer, you can see that the left and right channels are very similar. They're not identical, but they are similar. However, if we look at this stereo cloud over here, you can see that although I do have this pan right down the middle, there's some difference between the left and right channels, and that difference creates width. We're going to hear that in just a moment, but first of all, I'm going to change the mode of my spectrum analyzer from stereo to mid-side. Now I'm going to go into more detail later on in this video about exactly what the difference is between these mid and side channels. But for now, let's keep it practical and simple, and I'll just let you know that the louder part you can see here represents the mid or middle part of the stereo field, and the quieter part represents the sides. Now let's go ahead and make some EQ changes to this kick. So I'm going to start off by adding a boost at around about 50 Hertz or so. And you may notice as I apply this boost that we can see it's equally applied to both the mid and side frequencies. If I do a cut, then the same thing happens there. So I'm going to leave this as a boost at around about 50 Hertz, and I'm going to save the state of my EQ for the moment so we can compare this later after I've made some changes only to the sides of this signal. And I'm going to do that by adding another band in here at around about the same place, like so. And you can see with my EQ, FabFilter Pro Q4, it's automatically at the moment assigned this as a side band. You can see that indicated down here. On your EQ, you may have to change this, and here I can change it from side to mid to stereo or left and right, etc. But I'm going to leave this as side, and I'm now going to go ahead and make a cut. And you can see that that cut is only being applied to those side frequencies. And I'm going to make this pretty sort of wide and exaggerated so that you can hear it. So we're going to go ahead and listen to a before and after, but I do want to say if you're listening on your phone, you probably won't hear this. So I definitely recommend listening on studio monitors, or better still on headphones for this particular listening test. So here we go, before and after. Now, just in case you couldn't quite clearly hear that yet, let's have a look at a visual for this. So I'm just going to bring up my stereo cloud that we can see here. So here is before. You can see quite a bit of width there. And here is after. It's quite a bit more narrow. But I'm going to make an even more extreme change now, and I think you'll definitely be able to hear the difference after this. Because a lot of the sound of a kick is not only in those low frequencies, but also in the mid to higher frequencies, where we hear the kind of click of the kick as it's played, and also the ambient sound in the room. So what I'm going to do is add another band in here. This has also automatically been applied to the side only, and I'll make a cut here and I will widen that. Now already, if we look at the visual here, the stereo cloud, we can see just how narrow that is. Here is a before, and here is an after. So let's now go ahead and listen to the difference between those two. This video is sponsored by DistroKid. Follow the VIP link in the description down below to get 7% off an already amazing price to distribute your music to the world. So normally we think of our stereo signal as a combination of two channels, the left and the right. With mid-side processing, we're still combining two channels, but this time it's the mid and the sides. Now the mid signal is made up of all of those components which are equally distributed between the left and the right channels, the sum of the two. Whereas it's completely opposite with the side channel. This contains all the differences between the left and right channels. That's why this processing is sometimes called sum and difference processing. Now we're going to listen to an example of some mid-side processing on a whole track. First of all, we're going to hear the mid channel, then we're going to go between that and the side channel a couple of times, and then we're going to hear both combined. And I guess Superman. The Daily Planet, all the people there, he's just showing off. So at the beginning of this video, we made our kick drum sound more narrow by using mid-side EQ. Now we're going to make an acoustic guitar wider by using mid-side EQ. Currently, it sounds like this. Now I'm going to start off by adding in a band, and we will make this a low cut band like so. I'll set it to side. So now we're cutting out the low frequencies of the side channel. I'm just going to make it a little bit more aggressive than this, like so. And it doesn't really matter where I set it, around about sort of 200 hertz or so. I'm just basically getting rid of all of the low frequencies of this guitar from the side channel to kind of get rid of the mud from the side, if you like. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to add another band in here, like so. Let's do this around about 2.5K, and I'll just boost that. And again, this is set to the side, and I'll just make it a little wider to exaggerate it. So let's have a listen to this now. Now, in case you're thinking this is some kind of YouTube trick and you just can't hear the difference, I think we need to A-B it. So we'll start off with before, and then we'll have a listen to after. Now, mid-side EQ is often associated with mastering, and we'll take a look at an example of that in just a moment. But before we do, I'd like to remind you, if you're releasing your music to places like Spotify, Amazon, Google Play, etc., don't forget to follow the VIP link in the description down below to our sponsor, DistroKid. If you follow that link, you'll get 7% off of your first year of membership. So I've seen lots of people do this in lots of different ways. This is just my way. But the most important thing are the principles involved. In this case, I'm using my EQ on the whole track. I'm kind of in mastering mode, yeah? So I'm applying it to the whole mix, and I want to kind of boost the vocal a little bit. Let's have a listen to it currently. Please believe me, though you feel me. And the first thing I'm going to do is a little bit of kind of housekeeping. I'm going to create a band here, kind of in the sort of 250 hertz range or so, and I'm going to make it a cut, and I'm also going to make sure it's only being applied to the sides. So basically, I'm just clearing out all of the low frequencies that I probably don't want in my side channel. The next thing I'm going to do is kind of search for the frequencies where the vocal is living. So what I'm going to do is create another band here, like so, and I'm going to use this solo feature here in FabFilter Pro Q4 to kind of search for the frequencies I'm looking for. Okay, so around about there, 1300 kilohertz, or 1300 hertz, I should say. And then what I'm going to do here is make sure this is set to side, and I'm going to do a cut. So again, I'm clearing these frequencies out from the side a little bit. In my way of thinking, this is to kind of help us focus those frequencies towards the center, if that makes sense. This is just my way of doing it, as I say. So now I'm going to make another band here at roughly the same frequencies, like so. And then I'm going to set this to a mid band, and I'm going to do a boost like so. We'll try it starting off around about 3 decibels here, but obviously I would adjust this in a real world situation. So let's have a listen to this with this vocal kind of boosted now. See if you can hear it.
Please believe me, though you feel me.
Now, just in case you couldn't hear that boost, let's do an A-B, starting off with our vocal as it was before, and then with our processed vocal.
Please believe me, though you feel me. This is nothing new.
Now, of course, this is reasonably subtle. If you want your vocal to be a lot louder, then I'd suggest doing that in the mix. But if you want to sort of boost it in the mastering phase, this can be a really good tool. I really feel that once you have this technique in your toolbox, it can really help to clean up and add clarity to your mixes. Let me know your experiences in the comments down below. I'm Mike. I hope you're well, and I'll see you in the next video.